In just a few days, Filipinos will choose the next leaders of the country. And the stakes are high as the nation awaits directions in navigating through this overwhelming health crisis, among others. They will pitch their cause and why they deserve your vote. Find out their plan of action for change. And as they chart the country's future, their political future is in your hands. Who are qualified? Who are worthy to serve in the 19th Congress? Watch them side by side here on CNN Philippines.
Hello everyone and good evening. I'm Rico Hizon and welcome to this CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum, where we get to know some of our candidates by asking them questions on issues that matter to most Filipinos. 3 candidates are joining us tonight via Zoom. This 61-year-old senatorial candidate is running under Partido Pilipinas sa Pagbabago. He obtained his bachelor's degree in economics at the De La Salle University, Manila. He served as spokesperson of former First Lady Imelda Marcos. He's also a member of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, Pasay City Chapter. Welcome, businessman Ding Diaz. He is running under the political party Bigkis Pinoy. He obtained his master's degree in hospital management from St. Joseph's College in California in the United States. He is the president of the Clean Air Philippines movement. He is also the former president of the Philippine Medical Association. Welcome, lawyer and orthopedic surgeon Leo Olarte. This 63-year-old senatorial candidate is running as an independent. She obtained her master's degree in development management from the Asian Institute of Management. She served as executive director of the National Council on Disability Affairs. She also became the Public Information Officer and Social Welfare Officer in Taytay, Rizal. Let us all please welcome PWD advocate Carmen Zubiaga. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I would like to remind everyone that this is not a debate, and this is about letting voters understand your platforms, principles, and stand on issues. We have questions that each of you will answer within a given time. And when you hear the sound, that means you only have 10 seconds left and you need to wrap up your answer. And to those of you watching online or from your homes, you can join the conversation by using the hashtag CNNPH Senatorial Forum. And let us begin this forum. And we start off with vaccine wastage, where we have 3.76 million doses. Health Secretary Francisco Duque had hoped that Congress can make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory. He said a number of Filipinos still refuse to get vaccinated or boosted. But some senators were quick to turn down Duque's idea, saying forcing people to get vaccinated will violate their basic rights and freedoms. The first question to our senatorial candidates: what is your stand on passing a law that would make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory? You will each have 90 seconds to answer this question. Mr. Diaz, we will start off with you, and your 90 seconds starts now.
I always believe that we should uphold the rights of each and every citizen of our country. And that includes the right to choose what he wants to and what he does not want. Making the vaccination mandatory is going to be a clear violation of the rights of the individual Filipino. So what I want to emphasize here is, while I would go against mandatory vaccination of all Filipinos, still we must strengthen the government in its right also to protect the others. What I'm trying to say here is that while we may respect the choice or the right of the people not to be vaccinated, then they must, the government must be able to impose limitations with regards to their movements. And with regards to this thing, these unvaccinated Filipinos will have no other choice but to follow what the government wants.
Thank
That's
you,
all.
Mr. Diaz, for that response. Ms. Zubiaga, share with us, what is your stand on making COVID-19 vaccines mandatory for all our kababayans? You have 90 seconds and it starts now.
We could not impose mandatory vaccination to our people because, we have the right to choose what is good for us, especially in medication. And not all people are really fit for vaccination. There might be some condition that would affect their system. So we cannot impose mandatory vaccination. Maybe the government should be more worried on planning and purchasing stuff that involves people's consent before it's consumed.
All right, we heard Mr. Diaz and Ms. Zubiaga and their views on the mandatory vaccination scheme, and both of them do not agree that we should have a mandatory vaccination among our kababayans in the country. And moving on now to Dr. Olarte. He is joining us right now. He is connecting to the Senatorial Forum. We have the same question for you, Dr. Olarte. What is your stand on making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory? The two other senatorial candidates do not agree with this. What is your view? You have 90 seconds, Dr. Olarte.
Good evening. Good evening to everybody. Well, mandatory vaccination is constitutional because the Constitution provides that the state shall promote the public welfare, and the public good. So it is constitutional, but there are guides to be observed in the imposition of mandatory vaccination. And what are the guides? There is a test that is very important, and this is the test of necessity. Is it necessary for the state or the government to impose mandatory vaccination? Will public welfare and public health be served? Are the risk equal to the mandatory vaccination that is going to be imposed by the government? Now, if the test of necessity is passed or is achieved, then it is ethical to impose mandatory vaccination.
Dr. Olarte, your time is up. We would like to thank you for your 90-second response. And this is indeed a very important issue because we are still in the midst of this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Moving on now to another issue. The country's outstanding debt has breached the 12 trillion peso mark for the first time in Philippine history. And as of January 2022, our debt amounted to more than 12 trillion pesos after the government borrowed more money to fund the COVID-19 response. With this ballooning national debt, lawmakers have pushed for legislating a debt cap or ceiling, a similar framework in the United States, but the Finance Department has opposed this proposal. The question to our senatorial candidates as a lawmaker, if you become one after May 9th, what other measures do you propose to raise more funds to address the country's debt? Dr. Olarte, we will start off with you now. You have 90 seconds.
Okay, now the question is, can I...
what legislation do you hope
please?
or programs or initiatives if you become a senator, to be able to reduce our 12 trillion peso debt? Or will you want to borrow money from international and local lenders?
Okay. Now, of course, if I am a senator, we are going to legislate laws to reduce spending, reduce spending, and only spend what is necessary to improve the general welfare and the public good. Now, to improve also the collection of taxes due to the government, and also to improve productivity, reduce imports, and increase exportation, so that we can have more income and we will be able to pay the external debts, our debts, and also reduce further incurring debts from outside and from local sources. So the legislation that I am going to have, if I am senator, is of course to put only expenditures on necessary things that will improve the public good and public welfare.
Ms. Zubiaga, you now have 90 seconds. How do you propose to generate funds to pay our national debt?
We have first to investigate where the chunks of the money were used, and strengthen measures on how to increase tax collection. And of course, we have to look also at the expenditure, especially in areas where it's not really necessary. So I think we have to focus more on the tax collection, because I believe that we have a lot. We have not. The government does not really have an intensive tax collection, especially from the businesses, and we have also to look at those people who squander the funds, and they have to pay that also.
Mr. Diaz, over to you now. How do you propose to generate funds to pay our national debt?
Well, number one, I agree with putting a cap on foreign loan sourcing. Okay. Number two, I would like to emphasize on the government's focus on programs that would hasten or facilitate or spur economic development in the countryside. I would like to emphasize na alam po ninyo, sinasabi ko nga lagi, ang ating bayan, mayaman naman po ang ating bayan. Mayaman po tayo sa lahat po ng klaseng natural wealth. And I also believe na ang mga Pilipino naman po ay maparaan at matalino. It's just a matter of the leaders of this country coming up with the rightful balance, and those who would be able to connect the dots to maximize the productivity of our people in relation to the natural wealth of their own localities. Now, with regards to yung pong sinasabi kanina na tax collection, yes, we are very much wanting on this. And I would like to emphasize na kung sino pa po yung mga mayayaman, yung po mga malaki ang kinikita, ito pa po ang nagkakaroon ng mga paraan para po mapaliit ang kanilang mga obligasyon sa pamahalaan. Gayong ang mga ordinaryong mamamayan po, lalo na ang mga empleyado o yung pong mga regular employees lang, sila po ay religiously
Mr.
paying
Diaz,
their
I would like to
taxes.
jump in. Your time is up. We will be now going into a short break. But before that, we would like to ask our senatorial candidates with a question answerable by a yes or a no. No need for an explanation, and you will answer with your signboards. The green color means it's a yes, and the red one means it's a no. As the nation eyes a transition from a state of pandemic to endemic, the government is now crafting an exit plan. A proposal to eliminate the COVID-19 alert level system in the country is now being considered, similar to European countries. Denmark is the first EU country to lift all COVID-19 restrictions, and this means wearing masks, the use of a COVID pass, and the legal obligation to self-isolate if you test positive are all ending. Here's a question for all our senatorial candidates tonight. Will you recommend lifting all COVID-19 restrictions in the Philippines? Yes or no? Please raise your cards. Dr. Olarte, yes or no? So we have a no from Ms. Zubiaga, a no from Mr. Diaz.
No.
What about yourself? No.
For
Okay.
me, no.
Okay,
No.
we have a unanimous vote from our senatorial candidates. No lifting of the COVID restrictions. You're watching CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. Still ahead, what more could be done to solve the decades-old traffic problem in the country? Let's find out what our guests think when we come back right after this. Welcome back to this CNN Philippines special presentation. I'm Rico Hizon, and tonight we are having the 12th Senatorial Forum organized by CNN Philippines. Joining us tonight are businessman Ding Diaz, lawyer and Dr. Leo Olarte, and PWD advocate Carmen Zubiaga. They will respond to questions and issues that matter most to you, the Filipino voter. Our next issue, the traffic congestion in Metro Manila is the 6th worst in Asia. That's according to the 2021 data of Amsterdam-based geolocation technology specialist TomTom International BV. Now, according to Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, the traffic problem in Metro Manila will cost the country 5.4 billion pesos daily by 2035. The local automotive industry has also registered almost 270,000 vehicles sold in 2021 and more than 70,000 from January to March of this year. That's almost 340,000 more cars on the road. The question now for our candidates as future lawmakers, how could you ease the traffic congestion in the country? You have 90 seconds to answer this question. Ms. Zubiaga, we start off with you. Your response, please.
Okay, kailangan talaga natin yung mga railways like yung mga Metro Rail and mass transit talaga yung kailangan natin, mass public transport. And who among us really want to buy a car? If our public transport system is efficient, no one would ever think to buy a car. And we should also look if we already have a mass transport system. We have also to look at limiting the import or production of cars and limit the buyer. Kailangan may quota tayo every year because our roads are not really suitable for all of these cars. Kulang na kulang ay yung daan natin, and still we are buying cars because people are inconvenienced by the public transport situation in the country. And we have to think about not only railways, but we have to look also at the efficiency of other land public transport. And if we can really go into jeepneys, then accessible and electric jeepney, then that would also ease
All right.
our problem in environment.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zubiaga, for your answer. Mr. Diaz, you have 90 seconds. Your time starts now.
Yung pong nasabi ni Madam Zubiaga, basically yun din po ang aking gustong sabihin sana. We really have to come up with a very, very efficient mass transport system, especially in the metropolitan areas. But I would like to go further, no? Dahil our country is an archipelagic country. It will also spur a lot of economic activity and development kung magkakaroon po tayo ng kung parang tinatawag na transnational railway, no? Yung talagang yung transit system wherein from Batanes all the way down to the southernmost tip of Mindanao, pwede pong marating ng bawat isa po sa mga kababayan natin. Ngayon, I've been to other highly industrialized countries. Alam po ninyo, wala naman po talagang, kahit po yung mga mayayaman doon, wala na masyado nagdadala ng sasakyan. And another thing, probably by means of legislation, siguro may magagalit po sa akin dito, but kailangan po talaga na medyo makontrol po natin by way of legislation yung pong pagbili ng mga sasakyan, mga private vehicles, ano. So basically, I think things will ease up kung lahat po talaga will engage in mass transit, kung very efficient po ito and very comfortable for each and every one of the Filipinos.
Dr. Olarte, how could you ease, if not totally solve, the worsening traffic problem in the country? You have 1.5 minutes.
Okay. If I were in the Senate, I will make a law that will increase the public transport system, especially itong ating railroad and itong ating mga trains, no? Kailangan itong mga trains natin should be well maintained, and dapat the place to be used as itong mga railroad trains ay dadating sa ating paparoroonan. Halimbawa, ikaw ay pupunta sa airport. Kailangan ang trains natin mayroong truck na pupunta doon sa airport. O halimbawa, pupunta doon sa ating seaport, pupunta doon sa business center, para yung ating mga kababayan sasakay na lang ng train. And the train should be properly maintained. Pwede sumakay doon yung mga elitista, yung mga mayayaman, and yung mga hindi masyadong mayayaman.
All right.
Pero
your time is up, Dr. Olarte. Thank you so much for your response. Moving on now to our next topic. In a global study assessing the proficiency of students in 58 countries, grade 4 students in the Philippines finished last both for math and science. And this was the 2019 edition of TIMSS, or Trends in Mathematics and Science Study. Before this, in the 2018 PISA, or Program for International Student Assessment, Filipino students ranked lowest as well in reading comprehension and second to the lowest in science and math. Here's the next question for the three of you. What education reform should be implemented so students can catch up in math, science, and reading? Dr. Olarte, we'll start off with you. You have 90 seconds, please. And we would like to remind all our candidates to stick to the time. Please start now.
Okay, yung educational reform, no, should be geared on increasing the capacity of our teachers, their knowledge and know-how to teach science and mathematics. Para yung ating mga teachers will be comparable to international standards. No, we have to make laws to improve the professional capacities of our teachers. O halimbawa, magtuturo ng mathematics o science, kailangan yung teacher natin mayroong at least a masteral degree so that yung pagtuturo niya will be comparable to international standards. Karamihan ng ating mga teachers sa ibang bansa have a master's degree kahit dito pa lang sa elementary. Halimbawa, mathematics, algebra, biology, physics, chemistry. Merong mga masteral degrees yan. Kailangan gagawa tayo ng batas to improve the professional capacity of the teachers so that they will be comparable to international standards in teaching our students.
Ms. Zubiaga, what education reform should be implemented so students can catch up in math, science, and reading comprehension? 90 seconds po.
Mine is really a long-term plan, and we have to start with setting up an early child care development center para nasusubaybayan natin kung paano na-develop ang learning capacity or comprehension ng mga bata. then we have, if we really want to be good in math and science, we have to make it a way of life from kinder up to senior high by coming up with different activities wherein all learners will have will stimulate their interest in math, science, and other subjects. So hindi naman natin pwedeng ipilit, no, but we can develop learners to be more proficient in math, science, and other discipline if we prepare them early. The trouble with our system is we prepare children very late, and we could not even catch up on how we can develop more of the learning style of these children, because I believe na from 0 to 8 is very crucial in the formation as a formative years of children, and we really have to look at this to discover more of their potentials.
Mr. Diaz, same topic. Your time starts now.
And basically the same answer as the other two. We should put a lot of emphasis on the training of our teachers, our educators. If I am elected as senator, I would like to focus on the educational sector. And alam po ninyo, yung pong sinasabi natin na pagbaba ng kalidad ng ating mga estudyante, yung kanilang naaangkat na karunungan, matagal ko na po itong napapansin, hindi lang recently. No? So just the same, I would like to come up with a lot of legislative support to the education sector. But then again, sabi nga po, kung properly ano ba tawag mo din, meron pong sapat na armas ang ating mga educators, mas madali po nilang mapatataas naman ang kalidad ng edukasyon ng mga estudyante. And I would like to go further also, no, on the improvement of yung mga textbooks natin, and then also hindi lang math and science, hindi lang reading, kung hindi, everything that will come up with a holistic approach on the education of our youth, because they are the future of our country.
Here is a question now for our 3 senatorial candidates, and you will only answer with a yes or a no. You can show your answers by raising your signboards. No explanation is needed. Maintaining a work-life balance is encouraged to prevent an employee burnout. Now, a 2022 survey by research company Milieu reveals there is an interest from Southeast Asian employees, including workers in the Philippines, to adopt a 4-day work week. A New Zealand-based experiment revealed workers adapting the scheme became more creative and punctual and did not take long breaks. Congress has been trying to pass a law to promote an optional 4-day work week since 2017. Some say this can solve traffic congestion in Metro Manila. But workers' groups are not in favor of the proposal, saying it will just increase the number of working hours of an employee, among many other reasons. Here's the question for the 3 of you. Are you in favor of legislating a 4-day work week scheme? Yes or no? Candidates? Dr. Olarte, what is your response? No or yes? Yes. Dr. Olarte is a yes? Yes. Okay, Ms. Zubiaga and Mr. Diaz are a no. So we have a split vote on this particular issue. Thank you so much for your responses. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. When we come back, our guests will answer questions from you, our viewers. So keep it right here on CNN Philippines.
Magal tayo sa dilim, laman tayo ng nightlife. Now it's time to live the light life. Let's have sun make light with the sun out. Hindi lang panggabi ang bonding natin. Any hour is now happy hour. As you drink up the light life, kumagaan ang feeling. Ang katapusan ng bawat kwento, may inuumpisa ang bago. Get into the light life.
On May 9th, Filipinos will choose
Is fitting, ready, and deserving to be the next.
their next set of leaders who will represent their hope for a better future. CNN Philippines will be there to present a political milestone, the Filipino vote, Election Day 2022.
Candidates, are you ready to assume the presidency?
Be informed about the latest on the elections across the nation that only the most trusted news network can deliver.
Ito na po ang pagkakataon ninyo.
Now, the decision is yours.
A CNN Philippines special presentation.
Full coverage begins at 5 a.m. up until the last vote is counted. The Filipino votes, Election Day 2022, Monday, May 9th. Here on CNN Philippines.
Thanks for staying with us for this CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. I'm Rico Hizon, and joining us tonight are businessman Ding Diaz, lawyer and Dr. Leo Olarte, and PWD advocate Carmen Zubiaga. Again, candidates, we are not having a debate tonight. This forum will allow you to take and talk to the public and let them know your stand on certain issues. And to those watching us right now, feel free to join the conversation online using the hashtag CNNPH Senatorial Forum. And we are now opening this segment with a question from a netizen. Let's watch this.
Magandang araw po. Ako po si Dato Agong Aljun Kayawan ng tribong Agusanon Manubo mula po dito sa Agusan del Sur. At ako po ay may katanungan po sa inyong lahat. Kapag kayo po ang nanalo bilang senador, ano po ang inyong mga plano at programa para sa aming mga katutubo? Paano niyo po puproteksyonan ang aming mga karapatan, lalong-lalo na sa aming mga lupang ninuno? Maraming salamat po.
Aljun, candidates belongs to the estimated 10 to 20% indigenous peoples in the 103 million national population, while retaining their pre-colonial culture institutions. IPs generally live in geographically isolated areas with lack of access to social services, even with the promulgation of the 1997 Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act, or IPRA. IPs are continuously vulnerable to development aggression and land grabbing, and according to a global group defending IP rights, state institutions are weaponized to attack and red tag IP rights defenders and deny them justice. In Mindanao, the Save Our Schools network documented 32 attacks on Lumad schools, forcing the closure of 178 schools and denying 6,000 students their right to education. You have 90 seconds to answer Datu Aljun's concern on laws protecting the rights of IPs. Mr. Diaz, we'll start off with you. You have 90 seconds.
The rights that are being, the people deserve under the Constitution must be given to all, irrespective of religious beliefs, irrespective of race, irrespective of kung saan man sila nanggaling, kung ano man ang classification nila sa Filipino. And with regards to the indigenous people, marami po dyan sa lalong-lalo na po sa mga lalawigan. And I believe they should have a very legitimate platform for them to be able to voice their concerns. Yes, meron po tayong mga batas na nagbibigay po ng proteksyon sa kanila at sa kanilang mga karapatan. Ngunit hindi po natin maikakaila na pagdating po sa mga lalo na sa mga social services, hindi po ito nakakarating po sa kanila ng maayos. So I would like to review the laws that concerns the indigenous people of our country para po magkakaroon ng efficient implementation po ng mga batas po natin tungkol po sa kanila. Lalong-lalo na po sa paghahatid ng mga serbisyo na talaga naman pong karapatan nilang makuha sa pamahalaan. And again, also, kailangan ma-open up ang opportunity po sa kanila. No? And they must have a ample
Mr. Diaz,
representation sa lahat po ng uri ng
Mr.
pamahalaan,
Diaz,
maging ito ay national
your time is up.
or lokal.
Dr. Olarte, may we hear now your response? Your time starts now.
Okay. The Republic Act 8371, Section 56 of the Indigenous Peoples Law of 1997, particularly Section 56, is not fair. It is not fair and just to the indigenous people. Itong Section 56 provides that the property rights of non-indigenous people existing prior to 1997 shall be respected. Now, this is problematic because the indigenous people who have already stayed in their indigenous land, in the indigenous land before 1997, can be evicted or they can be relocated. There is a present problem in the LGU na gusto nilang gawin yung indigenous land ng landfill, yung sanitary landfill. Now, kasi sabi ng LGU, they were already given a ownership and title to that land. It is within the indigenous property. Yun ay very, very unjust sa mga indigenous people. Dapat i-delete ito or baguhin itong Section
Dr.
56.
Olarte, I would like to jump in. Your time is up. Ms. Zubiaga, what are your programs aimed to protect the rights of indigenous peoples? You have 90 seconds.
First, dapat we have to educate all IPs about their rights, their indigenous rights, and dapat rin we have to build their capacity to fully participate in all decision-making bodies at the local level or at the locality where they are. At kailangan kilalanin din ng mga local government units ang representation nila or their organization so that they can fully participate in the local development council and all decision-making bodies. And doon ay pwede nilang ma-educate ang mga sangay na pamahalaan tungkol sa kanilang totoong pangangailangan na nanggagaling sa kanila. Because ito yung kulang, kailangan maintindihan natin kung ano talaga ang pangangailangan ng mga indigenous people at kung paano natin irerespeto ang kanilang karapatan at ibigay din sa kanila kung ano man ang mga nararapat at pinapapasa ng ating mga karaniwang mamamayan tulad ng proteksyon sa kanilang kaligtasan at proteksyon para sa kanilang mga ari-arian na ngayon ito ay hindi binibigyan ng sapat na atensyon dahil nga ang interes ay nasa kanilang mga pag-aari at ang pagsira ng kanilang mga ancestral domains.
Thank you very much to our three senatorial candidates for your responses to this issue. We now move on to this question, answerable by just a yes or a no. No explanation needed. Once again, just give us the answer using your signboards. Green is yes and red is no. The Population Commission says the country may see its lowest population growth in over 7 decades as more Filipinos use contraceptives such as pills and condoms. While Popcom says a slow population growth rate is good for the country, a question from a netizen touches on the elephant in the room. We all know that the church and the state are at odds over the reproductive health bill, which guarantees free access to contraceptives before it was signed into law in 2012. So Facebook user Sally Garcia Gaetano asks, will you support or create measures promoting family planning, especially among poor families, even when the church opposes it? May we have your answer, a yes or a no? Yes for Ms. Zubiaga, a yes for Mr. Diaz, and for Dr. Olarte is a yes.
Yes.
Yes. We have a unanimous decision from all our three candidates. We will take this quick break. When we come back, let's see how these aspiring senators fare when they answer questions from their fellow candidates. You're watching a CNN Philippines special presentation. Stay tuned. Glad you're staying with us for this CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. This is the 12th forum organized by CNN Philippines to help our voters know more about our senatorial candidates. Earlier, our guests answered questions on various issues concerning Filipinos. Right now, we will be allowing them to ask questions to each other. Each of you will be given 2 minutes to answer. And when you hear this sound, that means you will only have 10 seconds left and you need to wrap up. We will start with you, Mr. Diaz. I will be drawing the name that you will be addressing your question to. You will please ask your question crisply and straight to the point. And the one who will be answering Mr. Diaz's question is Carmen Zubiaga. So, Mr. Diaz, please, your question, please.
Madam, what is your opinion on the current legislations, existing legislations affecting people with disabilities? And how do you think can we improve on them? Because PWDs needs a lot more. I believe a lot more than what they're getting now.
You have 2 minutes, Mr. Biaga.
Okay, as of now, yung lahat ng mga batas na tungkol sa mga person with disability ay nakapokus sila more on charity, and gusto natin na tingnan nila ang mga person with disabilities as contributing members of society and
Yes.
are also capable of becoming a contributor to nation building. Kaya nga po gusto natin na ang mga person with disability dapat sila ay binapalakas ang kanilang mga samahan, ang kanilang mga organisasyon, at yung mga mahihina ay binibigyan po sila dapat ng mga disability support services at hindi po social pension ang ating hinihingi, kundi disability support allowance na makakatulong sa kanila para sila ay makakilos at ma-develop nila ang kanilang mga talents, at dapat din ang ating mga local government units ay responsible sa pagtatayo ng mga facilities na accessible at ligtas para sa kanila, para naman sila ay makasakay rin ng mga public transport, sila rin ay makapagtrabaho, at mabigyan po sila ng tamang suporta sa paghahanap buhay at pagnenegosyo. Dahil naiiwala tayo na maraming disabilities ang hindi naiintindihan ng ating bayan, lalong-lalo na ang ating mental illness o yung people with psychosocial disabilities na kukunti lang ang kaalaman. Kaya nga po ako ang aking pong pangunahing concern ay makapagtayo ng mga mental health facilities sa bawat communities po ang matugunan hindi lamang yung mga person with disability, kundi yun din po mga
Ms. Zubiaga,
tao, yung lahat ng tao.
your time is up. Please direct now your question, Ms. Zubiaga, to Dr. Olarte. Please keep it short.
Okay. Ano po sa palagay ninyo ang pangunahing batas tungkol sa public health ang dapat na bigyan ng pansin natin o ipasa?
Dr. Olarte, you have 2 minutes.
Kindly repeat po, hindi ko masyadong narinig. Ano po 'yon?
Anong batas po tungkol sa public health ang sa palagay ninyo ay kulang at dapat nating palakasin?
Okay. Ang unang public health na batas na gagawin ko kung ako po ay nasa Senado is the establishment of a research and development science center. Bakit po? Kasi itong ating problema ngayon, itong pandemic, COVID-19, ay hindi po maganda ang initially, hindi po maganda ang ating eksperyensya dito. Matagal po tayo nakakuha ng mga bakuna. Kung meron po tayong Research Science Development Center, tayo na po ang gagawa ng mga bakuna. Gagawa din tayo ng mga gamot para po sa cancer at ibang mga chronic diseases. No? Itong cancer po ay problema. Mahal po ang mga gamot dyan sa chemotherapy. So tayo po gagawa ng mga gamot dyan. At mga iba pang gamot that can be preventive of a disease, no? an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Gagawa din po tayo ng mga instrumento that can diagnose early, detect early diseases before it actually infects or it actually affects the individual. Ngayon, tayo na po ang mag-i-export ng mga bakuna. Itong mga gamot for cancer, tayo po mag-i-export. Hindi na po kailangan na bibili tayo, and we can save a lot of our money, and we can also earn as income for the government to pay our national debt. Yun po ang unang batas na gagawin ko po. Pangalawa po is for education. Kailangan po mabigyan natin ng almusal o pagkain itong mga mahihirap nating mga kabataan sa kanayunan. Hindi po sila nakapasok sa eskwelahan dahil gutom po sila. We can give them free breakfast. And then also to protect our environment, no? Magtanong po tayo ng mga langka, avocado, itong cacao in order
Dr.
to
Olarte,
help
I'm
reduce
sorry.
air pollution.
Dr. Olarte, I'm sorry, I have to jump in, but your time is up. Please now ask your question to Mr. Diaz. Please keep it short.
Okay, Brad Ding Diaz, kung
Yes,
ikaw
sir.
ay maging senador, gagawa ka ba ng batas to abolish traditional politicians or itong mga political dynasties or mag-ama, mag-nanay na nasa Senado o nasa Kongreso?
Alam po ninyo, may batas na tayo tungkol dyan eh. But the problem is the implementation. So probably we just have to focus on making it more stringent, no po? Yung pagpapatupad po ng batas na ito. And then, ang gusto ko po sana, kung pwede, maging state-sponsored po ang campaign para we level the playing field, no? Yung mga mayayaman at yung mga mahihirap, dahil state-sponsored naman ang kampanya ng politika, magkakaparehasa na. Kasi pare-parehas naman na i-sponsoran lang ng pamahalaan. Yun po sana ang gusto kong pag-aralan at isusog na batas para po mag-ari po dito sa ating bayan. Para po magkaroon ng pagkakataon yung mga mahihirap na napakataas naman ng idealismo at alam po naman natin na malaki ang maiko-contribute po sa pamayanan at para sa kinabukasan ng ating bayan.
Alright, maraming salamat sa ating mga senatorial candidates for asking each other questions and for your respective responses. And we asked netizens as well what they want to say to the aspiring senators. First one is from Facebook, no? From George Canufin, and he wants reforms on education and agriculture as well as on salaries of workers. All right, moving on now. Kay Datako Galeled naman, no? Ayan. He's speaking for his tribe in Benguet. Sabi niya, farmers there are suffering because of illegal entry of vegetables. He asks, how can the candidates help save the livelihood of Benguet farmers? Ayan. Ayan. Ang susunod naman ay kay Ed Ong, wants the Lina law changed or abolished. Para po sa mga hindi nakakaalam, this law requires the government to provide decent housing to informal settlers once they are relocated. Ayan. Sa Instagram naman, meron tayong response from Simply Mercs, no? And she asked, kailan kaya magwawakas ang political dynasty dito sa Pilipinas? Yan, pinag-usapan yan in the previous topic, no? And back now to Facebook, si Ruby wants to know if aspiring senators consider making cryptocurrency a legal tender, gaya raw sa El Salvador, the first country to adopt Bitcoin as a national currency. And of course, basahin naman natin ang feedback ni Macon Canlas. And she asks, what effective measures have you done over the past 24 hours or 2 years to ease people's struggles during this pandemic? Sinabi niya, patingin daw ng inyong mga resibo. All right. And that's it from our netizens who have been flooding our social media pages with their feedback and questions and responses to these issues that are very important to the voting Filipino. And moving on, this is probably the most important question in your bid for a Senate seat. 2 minutes each to answer and tell us what is your priority legislation. Ladies first, Ms. Zubiaga, what would be your priority legislation? You have 2 minutes.
My priority legislation is the National Rehabilitation Act, wherein we have to set up early intervention centers for children with and without disabilities to monitor their health and even give intervention if they were diagnosed with disabilities, and also to prepare them, provide them with the support services they need so that they can grow up to be like any other children and have their equal rights. Then we also need to reduce the inequalities through inclusive economic growth, like we have to set up vocational rehabilitation centers at the community level so that we can develop the skills and potentials of not only of persons with disabilities, but for all citizens needing them. And that would include persons with disabilities so that they can come up with their own livelihood opportunities and become contributor to community building. And providing support to family enterprises, youth entrepreneurship, and initiatives of persons with disabilities and other marginalized sector in terms of capital, training, and mass production. And the review of tax measure and ease of doing business for small and medium enterprises. And of course, encourage cooperative in every community wherein it should be inclusive, not only including persons with disabilities, and establishment of facilities such as production training center and mental health facilities for people with mental health condition to support them.
Mr. Diaz, your priority legislation, your time starts now.
I'm thinking of an Economic Emancipation Act. An Economic Emancipation Act is an act or a law that would provide for the government to provide the ample support for the common Filipino with regards to opportunities to rise. Sa akin pong paniwala, ang Pilipino hindi po kailangan sa mga ibang bayan para po magkaroon ng pagkakataon para umangat sa pamumuhay at magampanan ang kanyang responsibilidad tungo para sa kanyang mga mahal sa buhay sa pamamagitan po ng pagpapaaral, pagpapagamot, kung magkaroon po ng sakit, yung iba pa pong mga pangangailangan ng kanyang mga mahal sa buhay. Sa akin pong paniwala, kung mabibigyan lamang po ng mga namumuno ng ating bayan, mga namumuno po dito, hindi lamang po yung mga malalapit sa kanila, kung hindi ang lahat po ng mamamayan ay talaga pong ikakalat po nila ang pagkakataon, ay ang mamamayan na mismo ang gagawa ng paraan para po umangat sa kanyang pamumuhay. Ako rin po ay naniniwala na kung mararamdaman ng karaniwang mamamayan na ang pamahalaan, maging ito ay nasyonal o lokal, ay nariyan lagi, nasa kanyang tabi, nasa kanyang likod, nasa kanyang harapan, at handang umalalay sa kanya, ibigay lahat ng kanyang ng support ang kanyang kakailanganin by way of training, by way of probably capital requirements, at iba pa po, to create job opportunities. Ito po ay ikakagatin at sasamantalahin ng karaniwang mamamayan dahil babalik po sa kanya ang kanyang kapabilidad na mangarap para po sa mas magandang kinabukasan. Medyo malawak po ang Economic Emancipation Act na naiisip ko. Dahil kasama na rin po dito yung nabanggit kanina na
Mr. Diaz, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Ano po?
Sorry, your time is up. Dr. Olarte, your priority
Yes.
legislation, please. You have 2 minutes. Please stick to time.
Okay. Ang priority legislation ko ay sinabi ko na kanina, yung Research and Development Science Center para tayo maka-manufacture ng sariling bakuna natin para magagamit natin po sa pagsukpo ng mga pandemic or mga COVID o ano pa mga viral and infectious diseases in the future. And then, yun din ay also for cancer, no? Cancer medicines para hindi na po tayo mag-i-import. Number 2 is bibigyan po natin ng libreng almusal ang mga kabataan sa kanayunan. Kasi po, hindi po sila nakakakain ng almusal, nahirapan po sila pumasok sa school, especially yung mga grade 1 to grade 6 students, no? Number 3 is ito pong ating greening of the environment, no? Greening, pagtanim po tayo ng mga trees, itong langka, avocado at cacao at mga bamboos in order to improve the air cleanliness or to reduce air pollution in our environment and also global warming. Number 4 is to promote tourism para po magkakaroon ng maraming trabaho, magkakaroon po ng income ang ating kanayunan. And number 5 also po is to increase the salaries of the government frontliners, especially yung mga barangay health workers po. Yun po ang 5 important legislative measures, laws that I am going to legislate in the Senate.
Thank you so much to all our 3 senatorial candidates who have joined us tonight and for sharing with us your priority legislation if you indeed become senators of this republic after May 9th. This has been a CNN Philippines special presentation. I'm Rico Hizon. Thank you for staying with us all throughout the 12 senatorial forums. And remember, your vote matters and use it wisely.